Bueno, kariro maku he mihi ki a tatu katoa mai I te tanga mai o te minita nei, he wane nui a tatu, taino mai ki ngā manuhiri I tatu mai I tēnā hapori Māori, tēnā hapori Pākehā, ngā tari katoa, ngā mea hāpai ia ngai tāua tiwi Māori e noho mai nei ki tēnei rohe o te hiku o te ika, tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou ki a tatu katoa.
And so I'm glad that the Minister is here today to talk about exactly that, the challenge of making change and the ownership and responsibility that comes with it on both sides. So this is about iwi taking responsibility to reclaim what's rightfully ours as well, and to play a major part in that, because it's not about more welfare on welfare, it's about the recognition that we also have to own the responsibility of our people and where they're at. And we also have to invest heavily in turning that picture around as well. So it's a two-way street, and it's not all about welfare. The challenges for us is with the asset return is how do we create the economic opportunities that create opportunities themselves for our people within that framework.
So I'd like to now ask you to give us an explanation about because the thing about this is that this is an unfamiliar phenomenon. It's not usual for ministers to imbibe themselves within a community like this and come and in a very personal way talk about what she thinks we ought to be doing together to be able to move ahead together. So, and I think it's we're certainly very pleased as the iwi Hiku Accord to be able to welcome you, Minister, to work with you, and no mai, hara mai, piki mai, hake mai. Kia ora.
Kia ora, and thank you for your welcome here. Thank you very much to the iwi leaders who have talked to me a lot over the last few months, who have listened and made me listen, which I think is equally important. To all of those that have travelled to be here today, can I acknowledge you? Acknowledge your presence and acknowledge the mana that you bring just by being here and for what you contribute have already contributed and what you will continue to contribute. Can I acknowledge those that come from the Ministry of Social Development and all of their guises? Can I certainly acknowledge Sheridan, who I'd like to acknowledge, who's really been the backbone, really. There's no woman behind this woman. This woman stands right next to me, yeah? And certainly is the voice of the people for me, and is certainly the strength that can perhaps, sort of be that guiding light to kind of the vision. If you were stopping for a moment in time and redrawing social services in this area, what would it look like? And that's my challenge to you. I think we can make it happen. Yeah? I don't think I'm the right person to draw up and design that. I definitely don't think our officials in Wellington are. Yeah? But I equally acknowledge that I've got a role to play. Yeah? I've got a leadership role, I have a role of accountability back to the New Zealand public for that money and how it's spent. I have a role of accountability and just responsibility, not just in the position I've been given, quite frankly, but in my heart for those kids and their whānau. So my challenge is, what do you want? And can you design it? Yeah, what does it look like? What do services to your whānau, to your children, to your community look like? So I reckon, and my vision is, that you do the work, yeah? You've done most of it, you know it. It's just a matter of coordinating it and pulling it together. And that's where I give you Sheridan and I give you the resources to do that. Yeah? But what you do is you look beyond the now and say, what is that vision and what does it look like? And then we backfill the how, we backfill the timing. So there's not a date, yeah? There's not a date that everything changes, because that will never work. Yeah, well, who needs that kind of pressure? Yeah, but we need to know what the future looks like, about where the genuine needs are, about how it starts at grassroots within whānau, within communities, within your rohi, that then grows and trickles out without. We need to know what kind of services might work, what kind of programs. We need to draw a line in the sand and say the way it's always been done is not necessarily how it has to be done. And I think the possibility for great change is huge. It's substantial. You know, if we add up the millions of dollars that go into the far north, is it not time that we sort of sat back and said, is it spent as well as it could be? Is it reaching the people who fundamentally need it most? I reckon we should have the argument. We should have the debate. Keep it firmly focused on the people whom I certainly think I was voted in to serve. Keep it focused on those children and their whānau. And have the debate of where we prioritise and where we put funding and how it's spent and who delivers it.
I also just want to acknowledge the Minister's challenge to us this morning. Pretty much out of the blue, I didn't expect it to be delivered that way. It's very much an open sheet as to where do we go to from here. It's perhaps reminiscent of when people say, be careful what you wish for, you're likely to get it. And when we started off on the social accord process, it was about desiring to make change and wishing for that. What's it all about? We're all aware that in the last 26 odd years, the biggest opportunity for change in Te Hiku has been the treaty settlement process. We've talked about fisheries settlements, we've talked about the ongoing issues around the muri whenua claims and how long it's taken us to get to a particular point of agreeing to work together in order to achieve the best outcomes, not only for each of the respective iwi, but for the community and Te Hiku as a whole. And that was no mean feat. It took us some 26 years of infighting, if we need to be honest about all of that. And it wasn't until we got to a point of realising that no one could do it on their own, no one could go it alone, and the concept of forming the Te Hiku Forum and the negotiations group in 2008.
It's the collective, your brain that will pull it together, that then will challenge the Minister around making it real for us. I also want to add too that while you say challenge, Minister, and while you're up for it, how real are we as current service providers around being challenged around our practice, and how and what are we prepared to give up in our practice as providers current to make this work? Kia ora.
But when we really sit down and look at it, the future is about our people. And we need to be reclaiming our people from where we are in the deprivation scale today. That was the wish of the social accord. That having assets and being the biggest players in the primary industries around fishing, farming and forestry, and also being identified as the biggest growth sector in the far north is great. Big, but being big is not always great, because with big comes big responsibilities. With big comes a recognition that we are also the biggest at the wrong end of the scale as well. And so the idea was, let's reclaim what we need in terms of substance and who we are in our identity and our histories. But at the same time, let's reclaim our people from those negative statistics where they sit. And so we desired to change the housing issues, the employment issues, the health issues, the welfare issues, and that was the theme and the thrust and the concept of what the social accord is all about.
But I do want to just end by thanking you very much for being here, very much for taking an interest. Let's just keep this, let's put it all going, let's keep talking about it, let's see where it ends up, and all the best, and thank you again.